What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the second ever reaction podcast. It's Monday night. It is February 24th, and it's late, 10:30 at night. We do have a game that just tipped off between Kansas and Colorado, but I fully expect Kansas to win that game, even though they've been struggling lately. Colorado's been really bad, so I expect Kansas to win that. So hopefully I don't have to talk about it and don't need to record my reaction to that one if Kansas gets upset. Texas Tech and Houston just concluded, biggest game of the night. I'll get my thoughts on that. I'll go off of game order. So the first game kicked off at 5:30 today. UNC Wilmington took down William and Mary, a battle of 3 and 4 in the CAA. Harlan Obiowa, he led the Seahawks with 23 points to give them the win. They improved to 12-4 in conference. William and Mary's falls to 11-5, but all four of the big dogs in the CAA, Charleston, Towson, and then William and Mary and UNC Wilmington, are all good enough to win the conference outright and then get an NCAA tournament bid. So it's going to be a fun conclusion in the CAA. If anybody watches that, it's a really fun conference anyway. Towson right now is the leader of the CAA with 14-2. That's the record. I think they're only like 19-10. So they really had a rough start to the season, but 14-2 in conference turned their whole season around, and they have a lot of expectations now to get to their tournament appearance. It would be really cool for Towson. Moving on, we have a battle of UNC, North Carolina, and Florida State. North Carolina ended up winning this game, and it was actually a fun one. Was not really looking forward to this game at all because I'm kind of tired of the North Carolina talk. I hear a lot of people say that if it wasn't North Carolina, if their name wasn't North Carolina, they would be getting no recognition as far as even a bubble team. Wouldn't even be thought of getting into the tournament, and I agree with that, but they do have some quality wins, especially at the start of the season in their non-conference. They did escape tonight against Florida State, who has not had a really good season. We know Leonard Hamilton, the coach that's been there for a while, historic head coach for them. He is gone after this season, and it's time for him to go. It is. He had a really good run. Obviously, the biggest thing Florida State fan bases will think of when they think of Leonard Hamilton is that 2020 season when I believe they were 26-5 going into the tournament, and then we all know Corona took it. They and got the tournament canceled. So a lot of wishes and a lot of looking back for Florida State fans about that season. I mean, that season they had some dogs, man. They had Devin Vassell, who is now a San Antonio Spur, and one of the best young core pieces on that San Antonio Spurs team. Patrick Williams, who is now on the Bulls, and he was a former number 4 overall pick. So we thought he'd be a lot better, and he hasn't really done much for the Chicago Bulls, but he's a valuable piece, and they will not trade him for whatever reason. They also had Trent Forrest and MJ Walker, who were both averaging over 10 points a game on that 2020 squad. Just disappointing. And the year before that, they were even a Sweet 16 team. So, man, I feel for Florida State fans. One day they'll turn it around, though, there when they get a new head coach after Leonard Hamilton leaves. But for this game, Jamir Watkins for Florida State led all scorers with 26 points, and he's had a great year himself, averaging close to 20 points per game. R.J. Davis and Seth Trimble for North Carolina combined for 37 points and 5 three-pointers. So North Carolina does get a much-needed win, and it was a fun one, 96-85, a really high-scoring affair between these two teams. Florida State's usually not that high-scoring, and they usually defend pretty well, but North Carolina kind of got all they wanted against them. And North Carolina led the whole way in this one. Florida State cut it to 6 and 8 a couple times, but late in the game with like 2 or 3 minutes left, I think the lead was 6. And R.J. Davis did a crazy, switched hands in midair with the ball and hit a layup kind of behind his head to put him by 8. And then Seth Trimble got a fast break and one layup to make it a 10-point, and then he hit the free throw, so an 11-point game. Pretty much iced it. UNC, they stay at 6th in the ACC, and like I said on Saturday in that reaction pod, I feel like North Carolina is going to reach the tournament. I think they're going to find a way to sneak in, whether that's winning out, which would include a win over Duke, which seems impossible, but it's not, especially in that rivalry. Whether it's that or them going to the ACC championship game, and who knows, maybe even winning it. But I think they will do it. Florida State falls to 16-12, and kind of a not a throwaway season. I don't want to say that, but kind of looking ahead for the future for this Florida State team. Moving on, in the Southland Conference, McNeese, Will Wade, McNeese team beats UTR GV Rio Grande 100-65. Beat them by 35 points, put up 100 on them, and this feels like forever ago, but Rio Grande is a team that took Creighton and Wisconsin to the ropes in November. I know that feels like forever ago, and it was, but this was a team that really had those teams on the ropes. They had Wisconsin, I think it was a 3-point loss. So this was not a bad team to begin the year, and they're probably not a bad team now, but things just go wrong in the middle of the season, and McNeese is just that good. They improved to 17-1 in the Southland after winning the regular season title on Saturday for the second year in a row, and this is Will Wade's second year there, obviously. So Christian Shoemate and DJ Richards both had 19 for McNeese, and so now they're just looking for the conference tournament, man. They're ready to get to that, and then obviously if they win that, they'll go to the NCAA tournament for the second straight time, and I think that will be the first ever 2 straight tournament appearances for the school and for the program. So it would be a lot of big things for Will Wade and this squad. Moving on to the Big Ten, probably the second biggest matchup of the night. Michigan comes out of Lincoln with a 49-46 win over Nebraska. This was an ugly, ugly game. A rock fight, take you behind the shed, kind of beat down. It was just back and forth all night, it seemed like. And then late in the ball game, Michigan kind of broke it away, 5, 6, 7 points, but Nebraska kept fighting back, and they had plenty of opportunities to tie or win this game. Connor Essegian had a wide-open three-pointer to take the lead with just a few seconds left. I think it was 49-40. I can't remember the score at the time, but they would have taken the lead and probably would have won the game. Michigan would have had a few seconds to win the game as well, but man, Nebraska had a heck of an opportunity. Fred Hoiberg loses another heartbreaker, and it's tough for Nebraska fans. It really is. Bryce Williams led all scorers with 26 points, and in return, his team scored 20 points. 20 points. He had 26. Nebraska as a whole had 46, and he can't do everything himself, man. He just can't. He's an awesome scorer, but he can't do everything himself, and that's what did it tonight. Danny Wolf, he only had 10 points for the Wolverines tonight, but he had 5 crucial ones in the late minutes of this ball game. I think put Michigan up by 6, and then Nebraska had to keep fighting back to eventually lose by 3 points. There was a point in the game where Michigan looked like they were just going to put it on them with, I think, 3 or 4 minutes left. They had the ball. They were up 4. I think it was 45-41, and Nebraska had just committed a flagrant 1 foul, so Vlad Golden had 2 shots, and then Michigan was going to get the ball. Could be a 4 or 5 point swing, which would have made it a 9-point ball game. And Vlad Golden ended up missing both free throws, and then 10 seconds later, Michigan turns it over. So they ended up getting 0 points out of 2 possessions, and Nebraska just had every opportunity to get back in it, and they eventually did. But, I mean, after that happened for Michigan, it seemed like Nebraska's fans really got into it, and that's what kind of pushed a comeback, if you will. So, yeah, Michigan escapes, but what's promising about this game for Michigan fans is that Nebraska's a tough place to play. I mean, right now, I believe they're going to be an 11 seed at best. I don't think they'll get into the 10s, but they are a tournament team. So Michigan goes on the road to a tournament team's place and wins by 3 in a 40-40 type game. This just shows you they can win almost any type of way, and that's what you need going into March Madness and the NCAA tournament. You got to beat teams that play so differently, And that's exactly what Michigan did tonight. We're used to seeing Michigan win in the 70s, in the late late 60s, but nope, not tonight. But it did not matter. They got the win, and that's all that matters. There's still hope for Michigan to win the Big East or the Big Ten regular season title, but it does not look very promising. They'll be a top 3 seed in the Big Ten tournament, which could boost their resume seed. I think they're going to be a 3 seed right now, but they have some opportunities to get a 2 seed or fall to a 4 or 5 seed. So we'll see. It'll be a very interesting last few weeks in the Big Ten. And let's move on to the game of the night. Houston goes to Lubbock and takes on Texas Tech. This was a rematch of a game a few weeks ago where Texas Tech lost. They lost J.T. Toppin for an egregious flagrant 2 foul in the first few minutes of the game, and then Grant McCasland, their head coach, was so pissed off about it he got ejected, and it just brought so much energy and life to this Texas Tech team that they beat Houston at Houston, and it gave the Cougars their only loss in the Big 12 this season, their only conference loss. One of the most impressive wins all year. So a rematch of that game, energies at an all-time high in Lubbock, and that place is rocking most nights no matter who they're playing. So Houston comes in, and what do? They shut Texas Tech down. Shut them down in the second half for sure. I remember looking up, and I think Texas Tech was 6 out of 23 into the second half. Now, the one player or a couple players shot well for Texas Tech, but not very good at all. Kerwin Walton was their best three-point shooter tonight and only three-point shooter. He had 4 threes. Elijah Hawkins had 2 threes, and they combined for 26 points. But, man, they shot 29.8%, which I think is a season low for the Red Raiders, and then shot 20% from downtown. And that's just not going to get it done against Houston, which Kelvin Sampson-led defensive team in Houston, like always, just not going to get it done. Now, Texas Tech battled late in this ball game and cut it to 3. ESPN showed a clip of Patrick Mahomes going crazy, and he was on the sideline all night, so it was fun to see him there. Fun to see him at a college basketball game. But Juwan Roberts he had 16 points tonight, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and he shot really bad. 3 for 10 from the field, but he shot 10 for 12 on the free throw line. Another guy, Milos Uzan, he was a stud. Had the shot of the night to push it to a 6-point game with 40 seconds left. A big three-pointer coming down the end of the shot clock. Or might not have been the end of the shot clock. It was an out-of-bounds play. And he was coming out. He had 22 points, 3 of 4 from 3, 8 of 15 overall. Just a stud performance in a tough environment. But that's how good this guy is. And that's what's different about most Houston teams. Usually Houston, when you think of them as a March Madness team, they're just all defense. And I know they have had really good guards, Marcus Sasser, Jamal Shead as of late, but they don't have 2 or 3 guys like that. And this year, it really feels like they do. Milos Uzan, L.J. Cryer, obviously. L.J. Cryer had 5 points tonight, and they go on the road to a top 10 Texas Tech team and beat them by 8. Just crazy. This Houston team is so good, man. So good. Tugler's a beast. Emmanuel Sharp's a crazy three-point shooter. He shoots some crazy threes, and some go down. They really do. So Kelvin Sampson has himself a squad. Houston might back themselves into a 1 seed late in the season, and that would be really cool to see. 16-1 in conference, 24-4 overall. Yeah, huge win. Biggest game of the night, but Texas Tech was without their second and third leading scorers, Chance McMillan and Darian Williams. So this is a different team when those guys are healthy and playing for this Red Raiders team. So something to think about for Texas Tech fans, but Houston, no excuses. What a win. What a win. So biggest game of the night. Like I said, Kansas and Colorado is just now starting, but I'm not staying up that late to react to it. If Kansas loses, so be it. It would shock me. It absolutely would shock me. But thank y'all for listening, guys. This is the second reaction podcast I've put out. So appreciate y'all for listening. I'll do these a lot more. Thank y'all.